Please don't open that door." The words burst out before Sophia could stop herself. Her hand flew to cover Madam Soo-jin's mouth, her whole body trembling, yet her eyes steady. She whispered, sharp as a blade, "Don't talk. Please, Ma. Don't say a word." On the other side of the bedroom door, a man's voice drifted through the crack. Calm. Cold. Too calm for the words he spoke. "She's 48, no child. Her parents are gone. Everything will be mine. We finish it tonight." Sophia's heart pounded like a drum. She gripped Madam Soo-jin tighter. The Korean woman's eyes widened in confusion, her silk robe brushing against Sophia's maid uniform, their breath mingling in the tense hallway air. Through the door, Jacob Nelson laughed low, bitter, into his phone. "Don't worry. I'll make it look like illness. Stress will be the story. After all, she works herself day and night. Nobody will question it." Silence. A silence heavy enough to crush the lungs. The doorknob turned. Sophia held her breath. "Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we go further, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. With every subscribe, you help us share tales of courage, betrayal, and justice across the world. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing your voices. Now, back to the story. The door creaked, half an inch, then stopped. Jacob chuckled into his phone. "Yes. Tonight. Freedom, a new wife, a family. This one has given me nothing." Madam Soo-jin's face changed. First confusion. Then understanding. And then pain. A deep, raw pain that pulled her shoulders down like lead. She had given this man everything, her heart, her wealth, her trust. And he planned to snatch her life away like it was nothing. Sophia pressed her lips close to her ear. "Ma, listen. Don't talk. Just trust me." Jacob's footsteps faded. The click of his shoes on the marble grew distant. A door closed. His call ended. Soo-jin exhaled shakily, tears burning her eyes. She clutched Sophia's wrist, her Korean accent breaking as she whispered. You heard him?" "Yes, Ma. I heard everything." But how did it come to this? Hours earlier, the mansion in Ikoyi had been calm, the morning sun painting the walls gold. Palm trees swayed outside the gates. Sophia had woken at 5, moving like a shadow, mopping floors, folding laundry, checking flowers by the piano. She worked with quiet precision. No motion wasted. No sound louder than a sigh. She had learned long ago that careful hands could save a home. Careful eyes could save a life. Madam Soo-jin often noticed her. Sometimes, after long business calls, she would invite Sophia to sit in the study with tea, green tea from Korea, poured with grace. They spoke about small things. The sound of rain on Lagos streets. The smell of books. Nothing heavy, but enough to stitch a fragile thread of trust. But there was one shadow in that house. Jacob Nelson. Handsome, 55, a smile that never reached his eyes. In public, he was the picture of elegance, waving at cameras, eating at the board table. In private, he was careless, throwing shoes across the living room, mocking his wife's Korean habits, rolling his eyes when she worked late. And now, Sophia knew the truth. He wanted Soo-jin gone. The present snapped back. The echo of Jacob's returning footsteps grew louder in the hallway. "Ma," Sophia mouthed silently, pointing toward the study. "Now." Together, they moved, slow but urgent, hearts racing. Every creak of the floor was a scream. Every second was a gamble. They slipped into the study, shutting the door without a sound. Madam's hands shook as she reached for her phone. Sophia covered her trembling fingers, guiding them to dial. "Emergency," she whispered into the receiver. "Please come. My husband is planning to harm me." Outside, thunder cracked. Rain began to pour, and Jacob's footsteps stopped. Right outside the study door. The handle turned. The study door rattled. Jacob's hand pressed against the knob, twisting it just slightly. The metal squeaked. Madam Soo-jin froze, her knuckles white as she gripped the phone. Sophia stepped in front of her like a shield, her small frame blocking the billionaire as though her body alone could hold back danger. Then, silence. Jacob's footsteps moved away. Slowly, casually, like a hunter pretending to stroll before he strikes. The sound of his shoes tapped against the marble until the house swallowed him. Both women exhaled. But the air stayed heavy. Outside, the storm deepened. Rain lashed the windows of the Ikoyi mansion, lightning flaring against glass walls. Inside, the shadows grew long. The chandelier quivered with every rumble of thunder, as though the house itself knew it was holding a secret too heavy for its walls. Sophia whispered, "He's planning to kill you, Ma. I heard everything. Tonight." He said tonight. Soo-jin pressed her trembling hand against her chest. In her Korean accent, soft and broken, she asked, Why would he do this? I gave him everything. A home. A life." Sophia swallowed. She had no answer. She had seen Jacob's eyes too many times. Cold when Madam wasn't looking, sharp when he thought no one noticed. A man who wore charm like a mask. Let's pause here. Let's go back. Because betrayal doesn't happen overnight. It grows slowly, like cracks spreading through marble. At first too small to notice, then suddenly big enough to shatter everything. 3 months earlier, the mansion in Lagos was alive with peace. The white walls gleamed, the gardens bloomed, and the household staff moved with quiet rhythm. Sophia had only just joined then. A poor maid, careful with every step, grateful for the job. She had lost her parents years ago, first her father, then her mother, grief sweeping her life clean of comfort. She survived by working odd jobs, sometimes sleeping on benches when the money ran out. But in Soo-jin's house, she found steadiness. Routine. A reason to wake up every morning. And Soo-jin noticed her. Unlike other employers, Soo-jin said thank you. She asked about the roses Sophia arranged, about the sound of the rain after long workdays. She poured her Korean tea for both of them, whispering, "In my country, we share tea to share peace." It was strange, Sophia thought. A billionaire who carried herself with humility. Power wrapped in gentleness. But Jacob Nelson. He was the opposite. Tall, with a smile cameras loved, he looked perfect in photos. But behind closed doors, he rolled his eyes at his wife's accent. He mocked her when she bowed politely to older Nigerians. He dropped his expensive shoes in the middle of the living room for others to pick up, laughing, "What's the use of all this money if we can't live free?" To guests, he was charming. To staff, he was careless. To Soo-jin, he was distant. Sophia saw things Madam didn't. She saw the way Jacob's hand lingered too long on glasses of whiskey. She saw how he never asked his wife about her day. She saw his eyes when Madam spoke of the business, resentful, as though every deal she signed was a wound to his pride. And she saw, most of all, the sadness in Madam's gaze when it drifted toward the empty wooden cradle kept in a glass cabinet. The cradle that had never held a child. Now, back in the storm of the present, all of it made sense. Sophia gripped Soo-jin's hand. "He doesn't love you, Ma. He only wants your money." Tears rolled down Soo-jin's cheeks. "And I thought I was giving him family." Sophia shook her head. "Family doesn't betray. Family protects." The sound of Jacob's humming floated back through the hall. He was returning. Calm. Confident. A man who thought his plan was invisible. But Sophia and Soo-jin knew. And the police were already on their way. The storm outside rages. The storm inside the mansion grows sharper. Will the police arrive in time, or will Jacob's plan snap shut before help breaks through the gate? Family, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the moment. Together, through these stories, we stand against betrayal and build hope for women and children across the world. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and tell us where you're watching from. Boom! The study door burst open, slamming hard against the wall. Jacob Nelson stepped inside, his tall frame filling the doorway, his smile stretched too wide, too smooth, like oil on water. His eyes swept the room quickly, first at his wife, pale and trembling, then at Sophia, standing firmly in front like a shield. "What's this?" he asked, voice silky but sharp at the edges. "A meeting I wasn't invited to." Madam Soo-jin clutched her phone tighter, her voice low, unsteady. Jacob, you plan to kill me. His smile flickered. Just a fraction. Then he laughed. Kill you? My love. Don't be ridiculous. Is this what the maid has been whispering to you? Lies. She's trying to poison your mind. She's jealous of what you have. Sophia's chest tightened, but she lifted her chin. Calm. Steady. Her voice was soft, but it cut the air like a blade. We both heard you, sir. Every word. Sirens began to pierce the distance. Faint at first, then louder, weaving through the wet Lagos streets like silver snakes. Jacob's smile vanished. His eyes darted to the window, then back to his wife. You called the police. Soo-jin's tears gleamed, but her voice found strength. Yes, Jacob. I called. Because you wanted freedom more than a wife. Because you wanted wealth more than family. The thunder outside cracked, shaking the chandelier overhead. Rain pounded harder against the glass. And then, boots thundered through the front hall. The mansion doors burst wide. Police officers rushed in, their heavy shoes echoing against marble floors. Jacob's calm collapsed. Wait. This is a mistake. I didn't mean anything I said. But the officers moved in, stern and unshaken. Mr. Jacob Nelson, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, the lead officer declared. No! Jacob shouted, backing away, his voice breaking. I love her. She knows I love her. This is all a misunderstanding. Two officers gripped his arms, twisting them behind his back. Cold handcuffs snapped shut. He turned his eyes on Sophia, blazing with fury. You, he hissed, voice dripping with venom. This is your doing. Sophia looked him straight in the eyes. Calm. Firm. No, sir. This is yours. The storm outside wailed, lightning flashing across the Ikoyi sky. Inside, the storm of betrayal finally broke wide open. Jacob's shouts echoed down the hall as he was dragged out, his pleas bouncing against the marble walls. Margaret. Soo-jin. Please. You know me. You know I love you. But Soo-jin stood still. Strong. Her glasses low on her nose, her silk robe damp with tears, but her spine unbending. You planned to kill me, Jacob, she whispered, more to herself than to him. And I heard it all. Silence fell. Only the storm kept speaking. Later that night, the flashing red and blue lights faded from the mansion gates. The house, once filled with Jacob's presence, now felt different, emptier, but safer. Soo-jin collapsed into a chair, her body trembling. Sophia knelt beside her. Ma, are you all right? The billionaire CEO reached for the maid's hand, gripping it tightly. If you hadn't stopped me. If you hadn't told me to listen. Her voice cracked. You saved my life. Sophia bowed her head, her own tears brimming. I only did what was right, Ma. No, Soo-jin whispered, cupping her maid's face with trembling fingers. You did more. You gave me the truth. Because this was not the end. No. This was just the beginning. Tomorrow, the whole of Lagos would know. Headlines would blaze. Cameras would flash. Korean billionaire CEO's husband arrested in murder plot. And Sophia, the quiet maid in the shadows, was about to step into a light she never imagined. Family, if you haven't subscribed yet, please join us. Each subscription is more than a number. It's a voice standing against silence, against betrayal, against fear. Drop a comment, tell us where you're from, and share this story of truth and courage. The next morning, Lagos woke up to headlines that cracked louder than thunder. Korean billionaire CEO's husband arrested in murder plot. Textile queen betrayed by her own spouse. Jacob Nelson faces court over shocking attempt on wife's life. Reporters swarmed outside the court gates, umbrellas bobbing in the Lagos rain, cameras flashing, voices shouting questions like bullets. The city buzzed with disbelief. How could the man who once stood beside Madam Soo-jin, smiling at galas and ribbon cuttings, be the same man accused of plotting her death? Inside the courtroom, the air was heavy. Whispers curled like smoke. All eyes turned when the doors opened and Soo-jin walked in, regal in her white lace gown, her glasses steady, her face pale but unbroken. Beside her walked Sophia, no longer hidden in a plain maid's uniform but dressed in a golden gown that caught the light. Gasps rippled through the crowd. That poor maid. The one who saved her. She stood now not as a servant, but as family. Jacob Nelson shuffled in, handcuffs clinking, his once proud shoulders bent. His expensive suit looked wrinkled, tired. His face carried no charm, only panic. He scanned the courtroom, searching for a way to rewrite what was already written. The judge entered. The clerk called for silence. The prosecution wasted no time. Your Honor, we present evidence that the defendant, Jacob Nelson, conspired to take the life of his wife, Madam Soo-jin, to inherit her estate. Jacob's lips parted, his voice trembling. That's not true. I was joking on the phone. Just words. I didn't mean it. But then came the recording. From the speakers, his voice flowed, smooth, calm, deadly. She's 48, no child. Her wealth is mine when she's gone. We'll make it look natural. I want freedom. I want a new wife. This one has given me nothing. Gasps filled the room. Reporters scribbled frantically. Some shook their heads. Others stared at Soo-jin with pity. Jacob leapt to his feet, shouting, "It was a prank. A joke. You know me, Soo-jin. You know I love you." But the judge's expression did not soften. "Do you admit this is your voice?" Jacob hesitated, his mouth opening, closing, opening again. "Yes, but..." No further explanation needed. The gavel struck. "Jacob Nelson, this court finds you guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. You are hereby sentenced to 10 years in prison." Soo-jin closed her eyes, her tears falling silently, her hand gripping Sophia's tightly. Sophia's heart raced, but she sat tall, knowing the truth had spoken. When Jacob was led away, his voice echoed, desperate, "I'm innocent. I'm being set up. Margaret, Soo-jin, please." But no one listened. Days after the trial, the mansion gates opened again, not to Jacob, but to reporters waiting for Soo-jin's statement. Cameras flashed wildly. She stood at the entrance, Sophia by her side. Her voice was calm, her Korean accent clear. "This young woman is not just my maid. She is my daughter." The crowd erupted. Questions flew. Cameras clicked like gunfire. But Sophia only bowed her head, overwhelmed, her chest swelling with emotion she could not put into words. From that day, everything changed. Soo-jin registered Sophia for university. Sophia studied late into the nights, proving herself despite jealous whispers that she had bought her way in. 4 years later, she graduated as the best in her department. At the graduation ceremony, the hall thundered with applause. Soo-jin sat in the front row, tears in her eyes, clapping for her chosen daughter. And when Sophia later joined the fabrics company as an account officer, she no longer carried trays or scrubbed floors. She carried files. She signed documents. She spoke in boardrooms where people listened. Her careful hands, once used for cleaning, were now building a future. Because though Sophia had risen, though Soo-jin had survived, the shadow of Jacob was not gone. He sat in prison, his anger simmering, his regret unspoken. And one day, Soo-jin would have to face him again. The years rolled by, and life moved forward. Sophia was no longer the maid who crept quietly through marble halls. She was Sophia Nelson, top graduate, respected account officer, and the woman reporters once called the maid who saved a billionaire. She had married Johnson, the kind-hearted executive who saw her not for her past, but for her strength. Their wedding, bright with gold and lace, had been a celebration of triumph over betrayal. And now, in her arms, lay her newborn daughter, tiny, perfect, fragile as dawn. They named her Amora Grace. Madam Soo-jin walked into the hospital room slowly, her glasses misted from tears she tried to hide. When she took the baby in her arms, the years of pain cracked open inside her. She rocked Amora gently, whispering in Korean, "Yui Tall, our daughter." Her voice trembled, but her heart felt whole for the first time in decades. 2 weeks later, Soo-jin made a decision. She asked Sophia to join her at the garden table in Ikoyi. The mango trees swayed above them, sunlight streaming like liquid gold. Soo-jin adjusted her glasses, her face thoughtful. "My child," she began softly, "forgiveness is not about them deserving it. It is about freeing ourselves. I have carried Jacob's betrayal long enough. Tomorrow, I will see him." Sophia's eyes widened. "Ma, after everything he planned to do to you. Why?" Soo-jin smiled faintly, her wrinkles deepening. "Because strength is not only in punishing. It is also in letting go." The next day, the prison gates clanged shut behind them. The echo chilled Sophia's bones, but Soo-jin walked tall. They entered the visitation room. Jacob Nelson was led in. But he was not the man who once strutted through the mansion with whiskey in hand and pride in his smile. He was smaller, bent, his hair grayer, his eyes hollow. When he saw her, he fell to his knees. "I don't deserve to see you," he whispered, voice raw. "I was blind, greedy, foolish. And yet, you came." Soo-jin's voice was steady. "Jacob, you tried to destroy me. But I refused to live chained to hate." Tears streamed down his face. "Please, forgive me. Please." She reached into her bag, pulling out divorce papers. She laid them on the table. "Our marriage ends today. You no longer hold my name." Jacob bowed his head, ashamed. But Soo-jin wasn't finished. She placed another document down, an account transfer. His eyes widened. $1 million, she said. "Enough to start over. Use it wisely. This is your second chance." Jacob collapsed in sobs. "I don't deserve this mercy." "No," Soo-jin said, her voice quiet but firm. "But mercy is not about deserving. Mercy is about choosing peace." She turned, Sophia supporting her arm, and together they left him in tears, broken not by anger, but by kindness. 2 years later, the Ikoyi mansion echoed not with betrayal, but with laughter. Sophia's baby Amora toddled through the halls, her tiny feet tapping against marble that once carried Jacob's schemes. Johnson smiled as he lifted his daughter, and Sophia watched with joy. Madam Soo-jin sat in her rocking chair, Amora on her lap, singing softly in Korean lullabies that blended with the hum of Lagos traffic outside. For the first time, the house felt whole. For the first time, peace had truly come.